Welcome to it. This is Know Your Power, the podcast series brought to you by VW Amarok. And over the course of this series, we want you to firstly discover the man that is Seabelo Senatla, but most importantly, help you tap into what real power is. The first 5 episodes are live right now, so make sure you get them all by clicking the link in the bio of your favorite podcast app. Ruhan, good to have you here, bro. So, let's just start off with this. You're not bad at this rugby thing, huh? Like I've been, watching you for a while. I thought, my first thought about you is, this guy's not bad at rugby. Just what a career, dude. What a career you have had.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. I think, it's been up and down. I've been through some really good times, really bad times, but I think, that just captures the life of a sportsman. It's about dealing with all these unforeseen circumstances, and taking in the good time and obviously realizing, when the good times are here, it'll probably not last forever. There's obviously going to come dips as well. But I've had an extremely blessed career up until this point. So, I guess I'm just enjoying the ride as I'm going along.
Now, Sabs, I know you guys are particularly close. And at this stage, I have to ask you and put you on the hot seat. How good is Ruhan actually? Because I watch him on TV, I'm like, oh, that guy's brilliant. Now, you're his teammate. How good is he actually? Now, let's put the friendship to the test here.
He's come a very long way from
Wow.
Yeah, it is. No, in all honesty, it's very nice to see one's progression and how he's grew as a player. Coming from the 7s and now 15s, it's really, really been good to see how he grew as a person and as a rugby player. Very, very far from Benoni Rugby Club, as I said.
Yeah, that's in the east. That's in the east of Joburg. That is some development. You live next to the airport and you move up to being one of the greatest sportsmen on the planet. Ruhan Nel,
he even got 4 feet, man. It's been good.
It is good, dude. And so, Sabs, what is the one thing that you thought to yourself? Because it seems like you guys have got it going when you got in that dressing room, and obviously you want to get around the guys that are doing all the right things. In whatever capacity. What is it about Ruhan where you thought, that's a guy I could actually, introduce to my family?
I think, in anything, you judge a person by their character first and foremost. And fortunately for me, when I met Ruhan, I didn't see the rugby first because I was going to see Benoni. Fortunately for me, I saw the type of person he is, and I just gravitated towards that. The rugby, I think, is just a bonus. Before anything else, we're human. And Ruhan's character, his values, his principles attracted me to him. And I think that's what I love most about him. Yes, he's an amazing rugby player, but that comes after. I think how he is as a person is literally what attracts me to him.
And so, Ruhan, then it leads me to ask you, is that maybe take us into where those core principles and the way you carry yourself. Obviously, there's Ruhan, the rugby player. We understand that, but we're talking about a little bit more than that. And that's directly from Sab's ears. Where does that come from? That desire to sort of carry yourself in the way that you do, that would have a brother in arms say, "That's my guy."
Yeah. Yes. I think it's like Seabelo said, probably Benoni. I'm just kidding around there. No, I think there's a major part, or actually like the majority of who I am is obviously principles that's been there from a very young age, and obviously that I have to say thank you to my parents too, first of all, and then secondly, we've already spoken about the 7s and the culture there and the environment there, but I believe at the 7s you're faced with some really, really tough situations, like training sessions, missing out on teams, but I think at the 7s, when I actually joined the 7s, I was at a point in my career, well, that was probably like my lowest point in my career because that was my last option. And, obviously the 7s turned out to be a success, but I believe at the 7s, I almost matured not only as a player, but as a man as well, like I grew up there, I was 22, 23 when I arrived at the 7s, and when I left, I was 27. But, in those short 4 or 5 years, when we started transitioning out towards the end of my sevens career, there's so many lessons I've learned there, about myself, first of all, because it's pretty revealing when you, and Seabelo, he can add to this as well, but it's pretty revealing, what comes out when you're faced with, extreme fatigue and you get so irritated and you're so tired. So I got to learn a lot about myself in those tough situations, in that sevens culture. And and I think through that, obviously, with those things coming to the surface, I saw some of the things that I liked about myself, and obviously some of the things that I knew, listen, that it's not really a good characteristic to have, So I believe it's a bit of a combination of both, due to my parents, obviously my upbringing, and then, being just faced with some tough situations at the sevens that I've obviously just grafted, and scarfed away the things that I like about myself and the things I obviously didn't like about myself.
Man, and that is such an awesome thing to hear. I mean, especially to say, like, sometimes you got pushed to the brink there, Ruhan. It's like it almost is that last port of call, and you had to make a call, and that's awesome to hear, because it's very easy to go the other way, right? Like, it's very easy for you to have gotten there and go, well, whether it works or not, but you clearly decided to take the bull by the horns, and I mean, in an environment like that, I think it's not like bigger team sport, maybe in the 15s and maybe in football squads where there are places to hide, right? If you're a sort of bench guy, you can hide a little bit and maybe cut corners here and there. And I love that it revealed that about you. And that says everything, doesn't it, Sabs, about the guy? I mean, obviously, like he said, he's from Benoni, so he can take care of himself immediately. So if Oaks... But that does speak to a man, is that on Last Chance Saloon, there's big time pressure here, because playing for the Springbok Sevens is, and perhaps I'm biased, but it is the show. It is the show. You are at the big dance, especially with the great Paul True, what he turned you guys into, and as a machine, is the dance. And for you to run at 22 to make that call, I mean, Subs, that kind of shows you this guy's for real. And I get why he's your mate, and that just makes sense. You guys pass me the ball, I'll run around people, I'll pass it back to you, you're excellent, and we're best mates. Yeah. It's awesome.
Now, it is a very tough, environment to be in. And I think anyway, not just the sevens, you would put on the green and gold jersey, you represent so much. And having bear that responsibility and knowing that you have that responsibility at hand, there's a lot of pressures that come through with it. But having people like Ruhan on your side, I think that's what pretty much pulls you through. Sometimes you don't even have the strength to go through the things alone. But just having a mate next to you, encouraging you, making you laugh. Like my relationship with Ruhan, like when he's down, literally I say the most stupidest things and he'll laugh and he'll immediately snap out of it. So we're kind of like each other's light in a sense. But you need that because things are so intense and there's so much weighing on your shoulders already. You don't need another, heavy lifted situation to be put on your shoulders. You need something to take that pressure off you and that weight off you. And I think with that to each other, we literally just that would lift and I guess that barrier of the weight that the other person is carrying.
And man, that's cool. Ruhan, so for you, I mean, obviously you're coming into that environment and you're undergoing, you're a young man at 22, but then you, Seabelo, you guys link up when things come together. What was it about him? Obviously great dreads as he came in. That's a given, right? The dreads, that's awesome. Like, who's that guy? That takes him over the top. You're awesome. But what is it about him where you thought, okay, the talent's quite cool. That guy is obviously a Ferrari because it's incredible what he can do off the mark. But as the man, what was it about him that you thought, nah, okay, that's a guy I can hang out with?
Yeah, I think, if I can just add to Seabelo, when he spoke about me, the things that attracted him to me, I think, when I joined the Seven, Seabelo was probably at the top of his game. It was the year before he won the World Sevens Player of the Year. So, he was already starting to go towards that peak of his sevens career. So, I immediately got in when Seabelo was already, he was the hot thing. I mean, there's a reason that the Fijians gave him the nickname Ghost. So I think you must be quite some big deal if, your rival country gives you the nickname Ghost. But I think for me, me and Seabelo, we never started out, for instance, with another good friend of ours, Sticks, Sandile. They started from a very, very young age in the academy together. So I think they obviously developed as players together, where I think me and Seabelo, over time, we just became friends due to time we spent together. You know what I mean? I think through that, I've gotten to know Seabelo outside of the rugby field, because I really knew Seabelo, who he was when I arrived in the sevens. I knew Seabelo Senatla, the sevens player. But for me, it was when I arrived at the sevens, that's when our friendship actually started, building and growing. And the more I got to know Seabelo, the more I saw that, exactly like he said, I was on, when Flip was still on, I was listening. There's much more to us than just rugby players, than passing a ball around. And that's where I started seeing stuff about Seabelo, and I like the heart he has to make a change, in where he comes from, for instance, in Connect Academy, the boys that we involved with there now, it's his sense of fashion that I always give him trouble about. I told Seabelo, we can identify one function in the next year or whatever that he can dress me. I'll be his model. Oh, so how that's going to play out, I don't know. But if I look at his Instagram profile, sometimes it looks like he's taking photos of the first fitting, and then he's saying, thank you. I said to him, Seabelo, I normally take photos when everything is done. It's fitted, Seabelo wears a coat, and he says, no, this is the look, it's done. But that's not done. That's the first fitting photo.
Okay, go back to this series. Now you're going too much. Go back to what you're saying.
No, look, that's feedback. That's how you grow. That's constructive. And if you can't take that from a mate, who will?
Yeah, no, it's just it was just Seabelo's heart that he has. It's so much more than rugby. Rugby is honestly just what we do. But I mean, the way he is around, us group of friends, the way he is around me, the way that he supports. I remember when I went through my hamstring injury, I re-teared on the last day, and Seabelo he tore his, I think, the day before or the day just after that. And, instead of focusing on himself, I think a hamstring injury for him is way worse than what it is for me. I mean, he's a Ferrari, I'm more of a 4x4 type vibe. And, Seabelo was there encouraging, building up, and he's showing interest. So it's things like that that actually go a very long way. Like rugby can end tomorrow. We can run to that field, you can break your neck, you can become disabled. I mean, there's so many things that can happen. And, to have a friendship actually that goes way deeper than just a playbook is something special. And I believe it's something rare as well. And yeah, it was just the human that he is.
Now, Ruhan, before I let you go, I mean, that's incredible to hear. Sometimes we get so boxed into just seeing you guys as these, and really we reduce you guys to objects that perform for our entertainment. And it's awesome to hear these sort of idiosyncrasies and the depth which you guys take it to. What do you think as Seabelo transitions, obviously from the 7s to 15s to mentor to entrepreneur? What do you think's next for him? What do you see being next for him, both in rugby and beyond?
Man, I think, from a rugby perspective, we chat about it a lot. Obviously, I think until the day that we decide that we're going to hang up our boots, we'll always be chasing that green and gold jersey. I believe that's any rugby player's dream. If you play in the country, you want to represent the Springboks. And, obviously, he's done it so well in the sevens field with a Bok on his chest. So, obviously, my biggest wish for him, I think for any of my friends, but especially for Seabelo, we train together after our training days, so we see the hard work that goes into just being ready and being on the top of your game. So obviously, my biggest wish for him is to, on the field, still reach that Springbok dream of his, which I still believe that he will do. And I think, off the field, there's already things in place, and I believe Seabelo has got the right attitude, Seabelo's got the right people around him, the right voices around him, that he's 100% going to make a success of that. And it's actually so interesting. This morning I had a coffee with Kyle Brown, that was
Carl Brown.
Yeah.
Carl Brown.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been a head boy from being a baby. The nurses took him and they put a suit on him, a little suit on him, and they put a little tie on him, and he was a head boy from birth till now.
Carl Brown carried a briefcase in primary school. That's what he did. He carried a briefcase.
And we actually had a coffee this morning, and we actually got into the thing of life after rugby and the whole transitioning phase. And he said one thing that caught him, or that he unknowingly put pressure on himself, was when people always said, but anything that you do, you'll make a success of. And he said unknowingly, that put indirect pressure on it with anything that he started or tried. he no longer had that feeling of, I want to make a success. It became a feeling of, I have to make this a success. And, I think that's the thing when it comes to us, it's because we were at the top of our game for, 12, 13 years. You all of a sudden, people just think because I'm on the top of my game now, anything you do outside of rugby is going to be a success. We're always, sometimes, it's not always like that. I think, obviously Seabelo has been grafting away of a life outside of rugby, but I think, he's put the right people around, the right voices around him that, it's not going to be like, let me just jump into you and it's just going to, whatever happens. It's very calculated moves that they do, and he thinks things through. So, my biggest wish for him is to obviously wear that green and gold. And outside of rugby, first of all, he can send me more wine. Got a wife that loves wine. And, obviously, I think he needs to come past the Afrikaans people who can just show me a bit how to dress,
Yeah,
and,
I was going to say.
I'll just put Seabelo in a two-tone shirt, bro.
No ways. That's not going to happen, mate. That's not me. But you said something so important, my guy. You said Carl said, you were just literally quoting Carl. We bestowed with this idea that we're always going to be successful in anything that we do, right? Which is not the case. And I think for the longest time, because when I got into the rugby space, no one was doing things outside of rugby. And I think it was that fear of failing at something because you were so good at rugby. That fear of failure actually stops us from, going outside of ourselves and trying to live what's inside of us and try to replicate that into the outer world. And it's such a bizarre thing because failure is not, excluded from success. Say failure is a part of success. I don't know how many times, even now with my one business, that I failed. It took us 1 year and 6 months to make the actual juice. So it is part of the process. Like if you keep at it, you'll get there. And I think I've done a lot of things that I've done now in the short period of time that I've been on this earth and actually playing this rugby thing. While playing this rugby thing, actually, I've done a lot of stuff that I've done because I've actually lost my sense of fear. I've lost the fear. I've lost my sense of fear of failing. Sorry. So I think that's quite important because a lot of people want to separate success and failure. And I think that's really a part of success. Failure has to happen at some point for you to succeed. You can't just get things right.
100%, bro. Like I can't agree with you more. And we always speak about it. And I think if you already said it, our identity is not attached to, what we do on a Saturday for those 80 minutes. And unfortunately, living in South Africa, being such a proud rugby nation, they judge you, or the public sometimes judges you as a person based on your performance.
Yes. Yes.
And that's sometimes a tough thing to handle. I remember when I was young in my career, when the one thing you wanted to have was your name on people's lips. You wanted people to say, yo, you've seen that new kid, you've seen how Ruhan plays. But at the same time, now you're playing well, people are chatting about you. But, and at the Sevens, you expose yourself to that type of criticism 6 times over a weekend. It's not like 15s where it's once and then it's forgotten, So you can score the game when you try now, you'll be that hero for the next 2 hours. The next game you slip a tackle, you cost us the game. You're the villain all of a sudden. And it's quite a difficult thing to juggle that between knowing who you are, almost like finding your identity outside of rugby, because the public is never going to give you a true reflection of who you are. And it's the same thing transitioning as well. Like if I can give an example, for instance, I'm involved in Optimum, their FSP, and I'm really interested in the commercial insurance side of things. And whenever I approach someone, the first thing I want to chat about is rugby, which I get because it's nice, it's a conversation starter, and you chat.
Well, you're also good. You're also good. It's not just that rugby is nice. It's also you're brilliant at it. So
thank you.
I just thought I'd remind you about that part. Yeah.
Thanks, man. So and then we'll start chatting about rugby, and it's nice. But the moment we start chatting about business, it's almost like you need to convince them that you know what you're almost talking about. Where it's difficult because people perceive you only as a rugby player. So it's about breaking that, almost like that stigma of rugby players are more than just rugby players, like that's just what we do. It's not who we are. So no, 100% agree with you there.
Man, that is so. You know what? I'm thinking now, maybe I quit my job and I become friends with you guys, because you're the type of people who I need in my corner as I'm transitioning from this job to whatever we're doing together down there as a trio, because the triangle is the strongest shape. Maybe I just drop all of this, because, I mean, isn't it amazing, this thing we call sport, how transferable it is? Because everything you've spoken about here, gentlemen, is that it's all about getting a team around you. You know, it's we talk 15s now. Is if the tight five doesn't do it, I don't care if you've got Senatla at right wing. It doesn't matter, because he's not going to get good ball. So you've got to ensure that the tight five is great, the loose trio is great, and that's so applicable in life, right? Is you guys are saying is, who are those people who look at me for who I am as a person, not as a rugby player? They look at me as a son, as a brother, as a next door neighbor, as a you know. And it's incredible how if you focus and your core principles are coming through, guys. And honestly, you guys are so close, and it's awesome to see, because I think it tells me that the youngsters that will come, obviously be mentored by you guys, it'll be about more than rugby. It'll be about more than rugby. Is if you're a good man, you're already here, you're already talented, son. Be a good man, and the sky is the limit. And for both of you, on a personal front, right, as you both transition, obviously you're still in your careers. When you both play for the Springboks together, that's obviously going to happen. And then as you transition in life, I'm delighted. And I'd like to thank both of you, not just on my behalf, but on behalf of those young men and women who will never get to thank you, to say, guys, keep doing what you're doing. And it's inspirational to see how close you guys are in this pressure environment.
Thanks, MK. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. It means a lot. It's not always easy dealing with Seabelo, but
well,
it's.
I mean, Sabs, here's what I'm thinking. Let's finish it off on this. Ruhan, you send him the Kortbroek, right? Veldskoen, and then you swag it out, and then you kind of get a fusion.
He's talking about this. He doesn't own the short brook that you're talking about. He thinks he's talking about class. He doesn't even dress like that. It's too Afrikaans for him.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Ruhan, a little bit of I don't want to say hypocrite, but you did kind of give Seabelo a hard time.
You can say it.
No.
What
I'm saying is, no, Seabelo always claims, when people ask, Seabelo, where are you from? And I was like, welkom, broer. That's what he says. Welkom, broer. And he said it exactly like that.
Welcome,
he
broer.
makes sure, he makes sure that you hear the broer. Bro, I'm gonna dress you like a brewer now.
Oh, Ruhan, you're awesome. Seb, you're awesome. Power to both of you. And oh man, it's just the beginning. I'm excited to see what you guys do together till Kingdom Come. Thank you so much.